Hear ye, hear ye. The Queen's Court stands in order. A pleasure to see you. I understand you are here to solve the Oswald Mason murder case. Most vexing indeed. So tell me, who was the murderer? Please choose from either your notebook or the directory. Positively correct. Now tell the court, why did he do it? How right you are! Now, what of Mason's work with the Treasury? What bearing did that have on this case? Quite so. Now tell us, what role did Violet Blue have in this crime? Flawless deduction! Now tell us how Errol Hawke knew that Mrs. Rose Mason and Mrs. Mabel Brown were in possession of the Venus statues. Very commendable detective work. You have done an exemplary job. The court is recessed. Until next time, of course.
An extremely difficult case, and your score is absolutely perfect. I'm quite sure we could not have done any better. Well, Holmes, here it is in this morning's Times. Well, Holmes, here it is in this morning's Times. Murder solved, diamonds found, Hawke and famous singer arrested. They caught them just as they were boarding the boat for the continent.
It does surprise me that for once Lestrade acted so quickly. After I advised him I'd solved the murder, he rung up his contacts in Dover immediately. It was they who assisted us in closing the final chapter of this case.
Do unravel this one for me, will you, Holmes?
Well, I'm surprised you don't know all the details yourself. You were the one to discover many of the critical clues.
Perhaps, but you tell it so well.
Why, thank you, Watson. It goes like this. The minute Nat Cook heard of the death of his partner, Jonathan Small, he knew he needed to do something to protect the Venus statues from being sold or destroyed. So he confided in his cellmate, Errol Hawke, who was due to be released in 9 days.
How convenient to have a cellmate that was willing to assist him.
But whether or not Hawke planned to split the spoils with Cook, we don't know. We do know that he intended to share them with his lady friend, Miss Violet Blue. In any event, the day after Hawke was released, he went to J. Small and Company,
only to find that only 5 of the original 15 statues remained. He purchased those 5 and learned from Mrs. Small where the others had been sold.
I thought I was telling this one, Watson.
Of course. So sorry.
No harm done. So, after Hawke and Violet broke the 5 statues into pieces in vain, Hawke devised a scheme to track down the others. His first stop was Evanson and Company gift shop, where he purchased the 3 Venus statues still in stock and learned that the other 2 had been sold. Unable to convince the shop manager to release the names of the other purchasers,
he broke into the shop that night and took down the names and addresses of Mrs. Oswald Mason and Mrs. Mabel Brown from the register.
Go ahead. You tell it, Watson.
Oh, no. Do continue, Holmes.
Fine. That evening, he entered the Mason home through the upstairs bedroom window. He encountered Oswald Mason in the study and a fight ensued. Then, with a swift blow to the head with the statue, not the Venus, he murdered Mr. Mason. He quickly broke open Mason's Venus, discovered that there were no diamonds, and heard the sound of Mrs. Mason returning home. He therefore made a fast retreat through the study window and went to Mabel Brown's straight away. Mercifully, he found no one at home. He located her facsimile of the Venus de Milo, smashed it there, and again he found he'd been foiled.
Then, the next morning, Hawk purchased the 5 pieces from the museum shop, hurried to Violet Blue's flat, and began demolishing the statues.
And as you've no doubt surmised, the diamonds were in the
Third of the 5 museum pieces.
You always have had a knack for mathematics, Watson.
Thank you, Holmes. Oh, so it would appear that Scotland Yard was correct in its conclusion that the murder was unrelated to Mr. Mason's treasury assignment.
Yes. Unfortunately, they missed the obvious fact that it was only the Venus for which the burglar had come.
Case closed, Holmes?
Unless you have something more to add, Watson?
Not a thing, Holmes. Crossword?
Yes.
Lovely, aren't they?